Hello again, human, and welcome back to the archive of Jeronia's crown. Other guests are currently studying in the archive, so I hope you can appreciate my hushed tone. I have collected the information you requested on the legend of the Valor Hearth and the Sabrian domain. Now, to properly explain the ever-looming radiance that was the Valor Hearth, I'll need to start by giving you a brief history of Bol, the Sabrian domain's capital city. In the ancient past, Bol resided on the arid planet of Vor, whose sentient inhabitants were exclusively elven. Most Vorian elves wandered the vast plains as nomadic hunter-gatherers, searching for food, shelter, and above all, water. However, after millennia of constant migration, certain populations tired of their travels, so they surveyed Vor to form an official settlement. Eventually, some 3,300 years before the fold, the weary elves discovered a wide, triangular valley where groundwater was easily sourced, so they quickly built it up. Thus, the city of Bol began its gestation, and the settled elves became a culturally distinct entity from those who continued to wander Vor. But this is merely the beginning of the legend. For 2,000 years, the settled elves of Bol developed. Their sedentary lifestyles accelerated progress in almost every aspect of their society, be it magic, art, or science. But politically, they were relatively stable. Kindred elders, the three oldest members of each family in Bol, regularly met in elder councils. Elders from every family in the city were present at the meetings, where they would dictate the distribution of resources so that all settled elves were properly cared for. However, council activity was not limited to governance. Elders commonly practiced and shared deep magic as they tried to prepare for Tilmer's divination, which reads as follows.
Before the many become one, the harbinger of death shall descend and lay tracks for the Creator's wrath upon Vor. Bol will fill with sorrow for the sacrifices made, and a new balance shall wet the lands as order and chaos struggle for control.
And so it seemed that in the pre-fold year of 1383, the events of the prophecy began to play out. Calamity struck as the Creator's wrath arrived on Vor. Because the wandering elves remained nomadic, they were difficult to assault, but the settled elves of Bol made for an excellent target. In its initial attack, the wrath used its body as a meteor and crashed into the center of Bol, carving out an enormous crater and ending countless lives in the process. The kindred elders did their best to protect the rest of Bol from the explosion, but their power waned as wrath depleted their defenses. Reality on Vor began to warp as wrath used a humanoid form to descend upon the city. The settled elves were left with few options as they witnessed wrath's corruptive influence. At the climax of the cataclysm, and only as a last resort, the entirety of the kindred elders went all in on their most powerful magic. They sacrificed themselves to merge into the Valor Hearth, a grand immolation event that nullified Creator's wrath and erased its distorted reality. Unfortunately for the kindred elders in the Hearth, death was not the end. Typically, when the kindred die, they transcend to the realm of patience, where they wait for the next stage of their existence. Hearth elders, however, were bound to Vor's plane, forever writhing in their immolation. After wrath was stopped, and because of the agonizing conditions in the Hearth, many elves viewed it as divine, the ultimate symbol of selflessness. Moreover, the immolation continued to burn, which kept the event fresh in the mind of the populace. And just when you thought the Valor Hearth couldn't be any more dramatic, consider that its inner workings were a mystery to even the most intellectual surviving elves. The magic used by the elders was deeply ancient knowledge, and the Hearth's formation required the sacrifice of every settled elf who was experienced enough to teach its secrets. Accordingly, the survivors knew quite a lot about its sacrificial nature as well as the accompanying grief, but they knew nothing of its magic or physics. And because the true nature of the hearth remained a mystery, some surviving elves saw it as an entity to be studied, like a tome from which they could learn the secrets of their elders. Others believed the hearth to be a sign of a new god, which they called the Valiant Sun. Followers of the sun thought their patron planned to usurp the old god, known as the Kindred Maker. Quite expectedly, tensions rose between those families of Bull who had held on to the old beliefs and those who claimed to usher in a new generation of piety. Tensions were cooled, however, when a third faction grew. Their leader argued that the Kindred Maker and the Valiant Sun were manifestations of the same divine presence. After religious thought on the hearth took root, and after decades of study, a young but clever mage named Kesla Sabri made a groundbreaking discovery. She uncovered that the Valor Hearth was a well-balanced mass of energy, where the souls of the sacrificed kindred elders composed a gas-like outer shell and provided inward pressure that acted as a prison for the wrath, which was actually still alive, generating outward pressure as it tried to break free. Kesla hesitantly shared the information with the other elves. She knew that the religious factions were unlikely to accept her findings because they made no mention of the elven gods. However, Kesla hypothesized that the energy created by the hearth could be siphoned and used for magical purposes, though it would eventually require the sacrifice of a powerful elf to recharge the hearth and keep Wrath imprisoned. The challenge was no match for her cunning, though, and Kesla devised a foolproof plan. She requested that the elders of her family call a council at the hearth, and once they agreed, she built an apparatus to harness its power. On the day of the meeting, after her elders properly addressed the council, Kesla made her play. Apparatus in hand, she marched towards the searing hearth, closer than any elf dared to venture. The council went into a panic. They watched in bewilderment as Kesla used the hearth's own power to form an invisible, magic-permeable heat shield around the miniature sun. In unison, the religious elders cried out, accusing Kesla of unrighteous heresy, calling her a defiler of the sacred. Wielding the hearth, Kesla cast silence over the entirety of Bull. In one stroke, she rebuilt the remaining ruins left from the Wrath's cataclysm, and in another, she fattened the pantries of every family in the city. Then, she spoke to her audience. Make me your queen and be my domain. Elect a council of those you respect, who you trust to keep my office in check, and elect them new when my office is refreshed, but always follow my commands so we may build our city's grandeur. In return, I will teach you how to use the hearth's power to carry out the will of your gods, and when the hearth weakens, I will give my soul to ensure the Creator's wrath never escapes, as will my offspring. The settled elves wanted to ensure the primacy of their beliefs, but they craved power more than anything, and Kesla offered just that. With minimal extra thought, the council rambunctiously agreed. At the same time, swaths of wandering elves settled around Bull out of respect for the Valor Hearth, its power, and its symbolism. The expanded realm became known as the Sabrian Domain, where elven populations ballooned as Bull developed its hearth siphoning capabilities. The Valor Hearth continued to burn, a testament to both the Elder's sacrifice and the dedication of the Sabrian line, but its power was always waning. During the second monarch, Vikra Sabri, a cataclysmic event known as the Fold tore Bull from Vor and spliced it into the planet Rong'lu. The settled elves used the Valor Hearth's power to keep the city from annihilation, but they still faced significant loss of life. What's more is that the hearth was strained to near critical mass, and Vikra had to sacrifice himself during the Fold to prevent the Wrath's escape. After Vikra's sacrifice, Queen Zetvin took over as Sabrian monarch, but was assassinated before she was powerful enough to charge the hearth. Zetiv, daughter of Zetvin, started her reign facing multiple crises. The Valor Hearth was sputtering and in need of invigoration, but at the time of her coronation, Zetiv had centuries of training to endure before she would be ready to join the Hearth. At the same time, the Sabrian elders had grown selfish, complete antitheses of the kindred elders before them. The thought of taking Zetiv's place would have made even the most altruistic of the Sabrian elders laugh. Some records indicate that Zetiv was planning a religious convention in Bol in order to take the pressure off of her inability to charge the hearth. However, we've now entered the realm of contested history. Zetiv's reign ended as a result of the Aven Spring, the event that created the largest oceans in Rong'lu. The tragedy devoured the Sabrian domain, but it connected the planet and brought life to many barren landscapes. In my professional opinion, it seems like the Aven Spring might have been the true thread of which Tilmer's divination spoke. Either way, after the spring, the Valor Hearth and the Creator's Wrath were never seen again. I will continue to search for relevant information, but it's incredibly rare and sometimes dangerous to obtain, so don't get your hopes up. Anyway, I need to return to the field. I have a lead on a remarkable codex, which might actually contain the history of the Azani people, a population of halflings who inhabited Alvosh alongside the settled elves. I'll let you know what I find. See you then, and mind the plague.